And here I am, okay? It's 10 o'clock. It's Saturday, December 5th. As you could see in the background, I began my Christmas decorations. And I still got to do a little bit more. I'm going to work on my little tree here, but getting ready for Christmas. The sun is out right now. It's a little nippy, and I think we are finished with the rain. So if you haven't put up your decorations yet, and if you want to put up decorations, you could do it now, okay, this weekend. So anyway, it's time for Okay, we're back on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Common questions of first-time homebuyers. Now, on Facebook, I'm members of these various groups, and they are first-time homebuyers. Some are nationwide, some are specifically for Hampton Roads. And I've been responding to some of the questions, and I've been, so many questions are asked, and it's actually good as an agent like myself to go over them, to be prepared, for what home buyers are thinking about and the concerns they have as first-time home buyers. So they're actually great forums. It educates myself as well as educating these home buyers in there. So that's what the topic will be for today. But let's check in with Leonard, our producer. By the way, Leonard, have you started with your Christmas decorations?
Good morning, Chris. Yes, I have been working on my Christmas decorations this week. We'll finish them this weekend. Back in the former Soviet Union, every time we would put an ornament on the tree, the branch would break off because it was frozen stiff. That's how cold it was back there. Thanks for asking.
Okay, I guess it was kind of rough back there, but glad you're here and being my producer. So what we're going to do first, before we'll have the questions asked about home buying, I just wanted to show you a graphic that's on my blog now. Let me just get rid of this here so you could see everything. All right. And we're going to take a look at this here. And it's the path to home ownership. And it tells you what you need to do before and during the process of buying a home. So let's go over some of this. So basically save for a down payment, which is number one. Now, be aware of the different programs are out there. If you go with Fannie Mae, which is basically a 3% down payment, and for instance, if you're buying a house for $100,000, that would be $3,000 you would have to save up. If you're going to go FHA, then you would have to save 3.5% of the purchase price. In this case, it would be $3,500. All right. Now, if you are a veteran or you are active duty service members in the military, you would be eligible for a VA loan, and you will not have to put down any down payment. Okay, that's the great thing about VA loans. And number two, know your credit score. Learn your score and clean up outstanding debts like student loans and credit cards. Now, student loans might take a long time to take off, but it'll be important to be current with them, or if they are in not a foreclosure, but a forbearance or a default forbearance or a deferment, that's fine as well. Okay, just if they're not in those two scenarios, make sure your monthly balances are current. But I don't want to go long into that. That's a whole other topic. And same thing with your credit cards. Try to keep balances low on it. Pay your minimum on time, and if you can, pay a little bit more than your minimum on time. Okay. Try to have those balances low as much as you can. That's going to be helpful in pushing up your credit score. Now, knowing your credit score, you could do this on your own. You could go to the various websites that allow you to get a free credit report. But if you think you may have some issues on your credit report, then speak to a mortgage loan officer, and you could contact me. I have several that I work with who are extremely professional and courteous, and they will work with you. They would tell you what debts you should pay down first if you have extra money, because some cards or credit cards are, well, let's say any type of installment plan loan. Some report faster to the credit reporting agencies than others, and they will help you with that. They will get you, or they will get your credit score up higher than if you try it on yourself, because they'll pinpoint the lines of credit you should pay off first. And if you could put down more than the minimum payment, that'll be very helpful. All right. So you could, like I said, you could do it your way. You could try it your way. But I still recommend to speak to a loan officer, because they'll give you a plan to quickly raise your credit score. And it's all, it's all legit. It's not ones who are trying to wipe out, lines of credit, whatever. I mean, you're doing you're doing everything on the up and up. And so they'll just tell you which lines you need to pay down more. Okay. Then get it pre-approved, and that's most important. And this is, again, you might want to do this before you do the know your credit score, because the loan officers will have more insight on your credit. And again, if there's an issue, all right, you will find it out while you're getting pre-approved. So I have many clients who say, well, I'll speak to the loan officer once I see that dream house. And what might happen is that once they see that dream house, they go to the mortgage loan officer and they can't be pre-approved at that point. There's something they have to pay down. There might be a default judgment on it, that if they could pay it off or whatever. There's many issues that can come up, all right, before they could give you the pre-approval. And again, it could be something that will be cleared up in 1 month's time, and maybe something that's cleared up in 3 months' time. But nonetheless, they will give you a plan, and you really want that pre-approval to be in place before you find that dream house, or even before you start looking. So it's very important to get pre-approved first, and they will know your credit score and make the recommendations. Going back up to number 2. And then find a real estate agent. Contact a local professional like Chris Gargiulo, broker associate of Willow Beach Real Estate to guide you through the process. So I hope that you choose me for that journey. Then find a home, work with your agent to find a home in your budget that meets your needs. So once I know what's your price range, I will only send out to you listings that are in that price range. We might go a little bit higher because in most situations, you make an offer that's a little bit lower, okay? But we'll search for homes, and I will set you up with an automatic drip of listings that are in your price range. Then we make an offer, determine your price, and negotiate the contract. All right. And basically what I will do for you too, as my buyer, is do a CMA or a comparative market analysis of that house and other houses that are pending or have sold in the area. And it's usually a 1 mile radius that we use. And we'll look at homes that are similar by the amount of bedrooms, by the amount of bathrooms, by the square footage, if it has a garage, and we'll see if that price that they have there is a good price or we should go a little bit lower, okay? So that's what I'm offering to do for you, and that's pretty good because, you don't want to make an offer on a house that may be overpriced. I mean, you still will make an offer on it, but not for the price that they're asking for. Then after that, get a home appraisal. Now, in this chart, they're basically reversing it because we usually like to have a home inspection first. When the home inspector goes in and they'll check the appliances, they'll check the heating system, the air conditioning system, they'll check the wiring, for instance, of all the outlets are wired correctly, all right? And they'll do all these things. Now, the reason why it's good to do that first, because let's say there are issues with the house and we type up a repair list for the seller to perform. And they say, no, I'm not going to do all of this. Just by the way it is, I'm not doing all of this. And if we can't resolve that, maybe say, well, let's knock off $5,000 on the price, or we can't come to any type of agreement, we could be then released from the contract. My buyer gets their earnest money deposit back, and then we just start anew. Now, if we do the home appraisal first, and the appraiser is not going to do a detailed inspection of the house that a home inspector would. Now, they'll check to see, for instance, if the house has heat, all right, because the house has to have heat, all right, but they're not going to check all the outlets. They're not going to see if the appliances are working, so forth and so on. So if we do the home appraisal first, and then we do the home inspection, and then we realize we can't come to an agreement on repairs, and my buyer wants to back out, well, then we spent around $450 that it's going to go to waste now for this appraisal. Okay? So that's why it's good to do the home inspection first. If everything is good, we tell the mortgage loan officer, get the appraiser out there and appraise the house. Okay? I want to move forward with the purchase. This is also known as a home inspection contingency. In other words, the ratified contract is based upon the home inspection. And basically that we come to terms with the home inspection. No house is going to be perfect. The home inspector will find something wrong with it, okay? 99.9%. And it could be something small. It could be an outlet that's not polarized correctly, okay? But he'll find something. But basically, once this is settled, the contingency is taken off, okay? So basically, you have a ratified contract based upon a acceptable home inspection or the outcome of it, where the seller has agreed to make the repairs that we, the buyer, request. All right. So then we have the close of sale, scheduled closing date once the loan is approved, so you can sign the final paperwork. And what they don't include here, see, this came from my current keeping current matters. We have a walkthrough right before the closing of the sale or the closing. And basically, when we do the walkthrough, we are checking on those repairs we requested, and that has been complete. Sometimes the repairs that we request maybe repairs that we are not certain on our own if they were repaired. For instance, if there was problems in the crawl space, where let's say some of the pillars have to be reinforced, there was a problem there. You don't want to go in the crawl space to check that it's been done. I'm not going to go under the crawl space to check that it's done. They'll give you a receipt at closing that it was completed, but you might want to have an inspection on your own. So sometimes a buyer will pay the home inspector just to come out and go over the repair list. If it's something that you cannot validate on your own that it has been repaired and repaired to your liking. Again, the seller will give you receipts at the closing, but you still want to have that visual check off or have a home inspector to make sure that it was done correctly. Okay. And usually they do not cost as much as the home inspection, the original one. I'm not going to call it an exact price because each home inspector is different, but it usually is less for the reinspection because basically they're just going over the checkoff list that we send to the seller to repair. Okay. All right. So this is going to be on my blog, and I'm going to see if I could get back. Let's see. Let's close this. I hope this moved up here. Let me see. I went on back up to there. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can get and bring this up here and path to home ownership by Mr. G. And I think you're seeing now. Let me go back to my page. Okay. And go back to Restreamio. And we're just going to open this up here. Okay. And this is the graphic that's on my site. Okay. And this, right now, this came out Friday. So if you go to my blog site today, it'll be the first article after my introduction article that stays there all the time. So you'll see it there, and you could review those steps. And one thing I would like you to do, if you would, because that helps for me to get more people viewing my blog. If you would subscribe to my blog, you'll see it right here on top. And my blog is updated at least 5 times a week. Also with video. What I like to do too, once COVID-19 is finally over and there's more events in the area, I like to write about them, make them more personable. So I would really like, if you could, subscribe to my blog. Okay. And again, there's no cost for that. All right, so let's go. We're going to go to our audience and see what questions they have. These are your typical questions of the first-time home buyers. And first we have in our queue We have Emily who asked about purchasing furniture on credit, when she could do that.
Hi Mr. G. By the way, love the show. We have a ratified contract and have had home inspection and everything went well. When can we start buying loads of new furniture for our home so we can move everything in the house upon closing? Thank you very much.
All right. That's a very good question. And I've seen similar questions like that on the Facebook groups. Once you have that pre-approval, and the bank is going forward to processing your loan, at times, and I'm not going to say it's a 100% occurrence, but the bank right before closing will double check your credit. And if you bought a large item or an expensive item or a group of items on credit that will lower or increase your debt to value or debt to your income, that could be a problem. They could stop the closing. So they just want to make sure that you're keeping, you're at good levels when you first went to be pre-approved, and they might double check again to make sure that all of a sudden now you have a large monthly payment to make. In this case, furniture. All right. So I would avoid buying anything big on credit prior to closing. And I know you might be excited and you want to get new furniture in there right as well. Now, the other question is, can you buy it with cash? Now, you could, as long as you have a good cash amount in your bank account, because you may need to bring some money to closing. All right. And prior to closing, you should have a good idea what you have to bring, but you want to be prepared for any surprises. So, like I said, if you're expecting to bring $3,000 to closing and you got like $20,000 in your checking account, then you should be okay. But if you're really, it's really tight, I would hold off on it. You want to make sure that the closing goes smoothly. Okay. All right. So avoid making those big purchases on credit prior to closing. Don't buy a car prior to closing. Okay. That's a big one. Let me repeat that. Don't buy a car. Okay. All right. Now I have Deshawn asking about who's this guy, the underwriter?
Good morning, Mr. G. Loving the show, my brother. I got a pre-qualified letter from my mortgage loan officer, found a house, wrote a contract, and we got it ratified. Now my loan officer is telling me that the underwriter is asking for more documentation. Who is this guy, or, excuse me, or lady? Thanks for taking my question.
Okay, no problem, Deshawn. And that is a good question. All of a sudden, you sat down with the mortgage loan officer, you gave your tax returns, you showed pay stubs, and filled out the paperwork. And about a week or two later, you're getting calls that the underwriter is asking for more information. You say, "What? I thought it was approved." Now, the mortgage loan officer does like basically the work of just making sure everything is in order, basically. All right. But when it goes to the underwriter is like you could think of a spell checker. You wrote this beautiful document, but the spell checker is going to look for mistakes in grammar. They might look for a sentence structure. So they might see some things where they want additional documentation. I've seen it happen. For instance, I give you an example where a deal fell through because this one buyer said he had rental income coming in from houses he owed in the Caribbean. And when they went to check to see the proof of that income, it wasn't like a check going to him. They were just depositing money here and there in the accounts, and it couldn't really be documented. So, not saying he lied about having properties, but the way it was, the way the house was collecting the rents couldn't be documented correctly and consistently. So that's an issue that we couldn't resolve. So it could be some items like that. It could be there was a medical expense on it that is now in maybe payment installments, an agreement that you made with the hospital. They may want to see that agreement that was made. So it's very particular reasons, and it doesn't mean that your loan is going to fall through. In one case that I just gave, it did, but they'll be more specific, and they'll make sure all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Okay, so just be aware. If you basically have your income coming in from one job, and you've been there for at least 2 years, and you have steady income checks, it should go very smoothly. If you have income coming from other sources that have to be substantiated, that's where the underwriter may come in and ask for further documentation. Okay? All right, now we're going to have Maya, and she's going to talk about shopping for mortgage rates.
Hi, Mr. G. This is such a wonderful show. You should win an Emmy or something. Anyways, will shopping around for mortgage rates hurt my credit score? Thank you very much for taking my question.
Now, and thank you, Maya. Now, if you go around and you are responding to a lot of credit card offers that are coming in the mail, every time you take on a new mortgage application, it goes on your credit report, and it shows now that you perhaps will be increasing your debt load. All right. So if one card has $5,000, you have the capability of putting on $5,000, and now your monthly payments are going up overall. Okay. And that's considered, going for these different credit cards. They call it, it's bad credit, and it's bad credit if you misuse it. Okay, I don't want you to think that getting a credit card is bad, because actually, if you're just coming out of college and you have no credit history, you have to get a credit card and buy something, pay it off to build up your credit history. But asking for too much credit or applying for different cards will actually ding your credit report and bring your numbers down. Now, when you're looking to buy a house, that's considered positive credit or good credit because you're making an investment, right? That's how we see buying a house, that you're investing in something, you're building up equity. It's something that's very positive. You could borrow against the equity. When you sell it, hopefully you'll be making a profit because the equity or the home values have gone up. So this is good credit. So that doesn't ding you. All right. Now, it's okay what I'm going to say, and I'm going to make this statement. I'm not a mortgage loan officer. All right. And I would say consult a mortgage loan officer specifically for this. But usually, because it's good credit, if you speak to one or two loan officers and they run your credit, and it's from Bank of America, it's from SunTrust, it's from Tidewater Mortgage, it's from Old Point, it usually doesn't ding your credit or doesn't ding it by that much. Okay. This is what I heard. Because again, this is positive credit. Now, if you go to 4 or 5 different banks, maybe it will. All right. So don't go crazy about it. Most people will want to see their rates from different banks. And again, that rate is based upon your credit score. So the loan officer say, well, if you're in this range, I could get you this percentage. If you're in this range, and basically, once you run the first one, you know what your credit score is, and you don't have to have the second bank run your credit report. You could tell them exactly where it is, and they say, oh yeah, I could give you, 2.75% or whatever. Okay, so in general, and I'm putting this in a very general situation, and again, speak to your loan officer to get more specifics on this. I'm not a loan officer, okay, but usually, to searches for mortgages on your credit history, usually it's not bad because it's considered a positive or good credit. Okay. But double check with your loan officer. And if you need a loan officer, contact me and I will give you some great ones. All right. And we have one more, and her name, I believe, is Riku. She has a question about appraisals.
Good morning, Mr. G. Thanks so much for having me on your show. I have one question. When you purchase a house, what will happen if the appraisal is lower than the purchase price?
Okay, that's a very good question, and that's a concern that home buyers will have. Now, in the contract, whether it's a FHA or Fannie Mae, your real estate agent, which hopefully will be me, will write in the amount that the house has the appraised for. So if we make an offer of $100,000, I write in it that the house has appraised at $100,000. Okay, for the contract to be continuous. So let's say it appraises at $95,000. Well, then we have the right to negotiate. We could say, okay, would you accept then the $95,000 as the purchase price of the house? And if the seller says yes, that's fine, then there's no problem. All right. If they don't want to budge, you will have the right to be released from the contract and get back your earnest money deposit, which in this area is usually $500. Now, it's a seller's market. So right now we have more buyers than sellers in the market. We have little housing inventory. So it's possible that the seller say, I'm not budging. You want that house, you got to bring in an extra $5,000. And that's $5,000 you're going to bring to the closing table. All right, because the bank is only going to finance $95,000. So, so it's very possible that they won't lower the price, and if you want the house, you would have to increase it. So basically, 3 things could happen. Number one, the seller agrees to lower the price of the house to that appraisal amount. Number 2, if they don't, you could be released from the contract and get back your earnest money deposit. Number 3, if you really, really want the house and the seller is not moving down, then you would have to make up that deficit. Okay? So that's the situation right now. Now, many times the appraisal that comes out is not what was expected. And even the agent would say, no, the appraisal was wrong. It should be this higher amount. And sometimes if you get a second appraisal, you might get another appraisal who'll bring it to that purchase price that's on the contract. All right. The appraisals are different. One will find some benefit to the house to bring it up to that amount. Some will say it will not. So there are different remedies. Now, I had a situation where the house did appraise lower, and we tried to bring in more comps. We talked, he had certain issues about bringing it down, which we felt was not viable. All right. In the long run, uh, he could not lower the price because when I say he, the seller, because he had to pay off the mortgage, and that amount that we agreed to he just broke out even. All right. If we went lower when it came to pay off the original mortgage, he would have to bring more money to the table, which he had not. So basically, my buyer asked to be released from the contract. Now, the listing agent was not a close friend of mine, but an associate of mine. We worked together at one firm, and she brought in another buyer. She found another buyer came. They went to another bank, and lo and behold, it appraised at that amount. So appraisals are, waiver. The same thing. If you go to court and you're found guilty of something, one judge might say, okay, you got to go, 2 months to jail, and another one might say you have to go a year to jail. Sometimes there's no set rhyme or reason. All right. So in this case, my buyer asked to be released, got her money back, and they kept it on the market. All right. And they got the price that they needed. So again, number one, you could be released from the contract. Number two, the seller could come down to that appraisal price. And number three, you can make up the difference. Trying to remedy that, I could do a whole other workshop, what I went through to try to fix it. You could try it. It may help. It may not help. All right. And I think that's all the guests we have today. We're running over a little bit over 30 minutes, and I like to keep it around 30 minutes to keep you, watching my broadcast. So, all right. So, by the way, I hear that Leonard, my producer, is calling me. We might have. What's going on, Leonard?
Chris, great news. We have a famous international celebrity in the audience. He is a comical acrobat who has appeared numerous times on The Ed Sullivan Show in the 1960s and 1970s along with Leslie Uggams, Lou Rawls, Topo Gigio, Richard Pryor, and the Muppets. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brian Androv.
Well, Leonard, you surprise me every week. How you set up the auditorium for these different guests. But thanks so much. Thank you, Brian Nandorf, for. I remember seeing him on Ed Sullivan back in the 60s, 70s. He still looks great. So that's our live stream for today. And I wish you a very happy and safe week as you do your holiday decorations. However you decorate your house, however you celebrate, I wish you well. Wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands. I believe the light is at the end of the tunnel being probably late spring of next year. But as long as we keep with the COVID-19 guidelines to protect ourselves, I think it will be a smooth and quick process. We just have to get through these dark months when it gets cold, and we stay inside a lot more and not out in the fresh air. So we have to be careful, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so be well. I say that with lots of love and sincerity, and we'll see you next week. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in.